Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let the world fade away. Lay back, sink into comfort, and let your mind drift. Put on your headphones and feel the whispers of the cosmos. This is the story of the birth of Earth that will make you fall asleep. Relax, and let the universe unfold before you. Imagine a vast, endless void, a silent darkness stretching in every direction, where nothing exists except for dust, gas, and the infinite potential of the cosmos. Now, rewind the clock 4.6 billion years to a time when our home, this beautiful blue planet, was nothing but an idea waiting to be born. This is the story of Earth, a fiery child of the universe, forged in chaos and sculpted by time. It wasn't always the paradise of green forests, blue oceans, and fluffy white clouds that we know today. In fact, its birth was violent, its early years were hostile, and its transformation into a life-sustaining world was nothing short of a miracle. Chapter 1. A Fiery Newborn, a story for falling asleep. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Let your body sink into comfort as we drift far, far away. Back in time, back before people, before animals, before even the oceans and sky. We are going to visit a world being born. This isn't the peaceful blue earth you know. No green forests, no soft breezes, no singing birds. Instead, imagine a place of fire, a young planet, fresh from the cosmic forge, glowing like a red-hot ember in the dark. The ground isn't solid. It's a bubbling sea of molten rock, shifting and swirling, like a great cauldron of fire. The air is thick, but not with the fresh scent of rain or flowers. No, the sky is heavy, with dark, rolling clouds of gas and ash, swirling like a storm that never ends. Towering volcanoes, taller than any mountain today, erupt constantly, sending rivers of lava slithering across the surface, glowing like molten gold. The heat is beyond imagination, hotter than any summer sun, hotter than the flames of a roaring fire. This is Earth's beginning, a time of chaos, of fierce energy, of wild transformation. And yet, even in this chaos, there is something peaceful about it, a slow, steady rhythm. The planet is taking shape, carving its future, preparing for the long journey ahead. Now, as we watch this young, fiery Earth turning in the darkness of space, something is coming. Something big. A giant traveller, a silent wanderer in the cosmos drifts closer. It is a planet-sized object called Theia, and it has been moving for a long time. Slowly, surely, is drawn toward Earth by gravity's invisible hand. There is no stopping it, no changing its path. And then, impact. Theia crashes into Earth with unimaginable force. There is no sound in space, but if there were, it would be the loudest explosion ever heard. The force is so strong that it sends fire and rock shooting into the vast blackness, creating a glowing cloud of debris that wraps around Earth like a fiery halo. The collision reshapes the planet, shaking it to its core. But all is not lost. From destruction comes something new. The scattered debris from the collision doesn't just disappear. Slowly, gently, tiny pieces of rock and dust begin to find each other, drawn together like old friends reunited. Bit by bit they gather, forming a new world, a bright, glowing sphere that orbits Earth. This is our moon, just a baby in the night sky. It is much closer than it is today, looking enormous and luminous. The moon watches over Earth, pulling at its oceans, guiding its movements, keeping it steady as it spins through space. Without this great collision, there would be no moon, and without the moon, Earth's days and nights might have been wild and unpredictable, with shifting seasons and unstable climates. But now, with the moon's quiet presence, Earth's journey has found its rhythm. The planet begins to settle, preparing for the next chapter of its story. Even after the great impact, Earth remains a world of fire. Lava still flows, volcanoes still roar, and the air is still thick with heat. But beneath all this chaos, something is changing. The energy from the collision begins to fade, and for the first time, Earth starts to cool. Ever so slowly, the oceans of lava begin to harden. The surface, once a sea of liquid fire, starts forming a thin crust, a fragile shell, but a beginning nonetheless. This young crust is weak, cracking and shifting as the molten rock beneath it still churns. But over time, piece by piece, Earth becomes more solid, more stable. Above, the sky is still wild, filled with swirling gases. But something is happening there too. Volcanic eruptions release steam, and the steam gathers in thick clouds. The sky, once a churning storm of fire and ash, begins to prepare for something wonderful. And then, after millions of years of heat and fury, something soft, something gentle, rain. At first, just a few drops, sizzling as they hit the hot ground. Then more, and more, until finally the sky opens up and the first great rains begin to fall. Not for hours, not for days, but for thousands, maybe even millions of years. A great downpour, washing over the planet, cooling the land, filling the deep scars left by fire and impact. The first oceans are born. They are not yet the blue waters we know today. These early oceans are dark, murky, filled with dissolved minerals from the still cooling earth. But they are here, and they are precious. Water is life, and though life itself is still far away, this is the first step. Now, as we drift above this young world, we see something new. Earth is no longer just a ball of fire. It is still wild, still untamed, but it is changing. The moon, now settled in its orbit, casts its soft glow over the cooling world. The great volcanoes, though still active, are quieter now. Their eruptions less frequent. The skies, once thick with smoke and gas, are beginning to clear. And below, the great oceans stretch across the planet, reflecting the light of the moon like a giant mirror in the darkness. This is a world no longer ruled by fire alone. It is a world preparing for something greater. The journey is far from over. There are still storms to weather, mountains to rise, continents to form. But for now, Earth is resting, breathing, waiting for what comes next. And so, as we leave this ancient world behind, floating gently back into our own time, let yourself drift too. Feel the warmth of your bed, the quiet rhythm of your breath, the gentle pull of sleep. Earth's story is long, and yours is just beginning. Chapter 2. The Cosmic Cauldron. Before Earth, before the sun, before anything that we could recognize, there was only an immense, swirling cloud of gas and dust, drifting in a quiet corner of the Milky Way. This was the cosmic aftermath of death, debris left behind by ancient stars that had once burned with unimaginable intensity before meeting their dramatic end. These stars had lived out their lifetimes, fusing elements in their cores until they could burn no more, ultimately collapsing in on themselves and exploding as supernovas. In their final moments, they scattered their precious elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, gold, across the vastness of space, seeding the galaxy with the raw ingredients for new worlds. This cloud of dust and gas, known as a nebula, was nothing remarkable at first. It stretched across light years, drifting aimlessly, waiting for the right conditions to transform. But the universe is never truly still. Over time, subtle disturbances, perhaps the distant explosion of another star or the gravitational nudging of neighbouring celestial bodies, began to disrupt the delicate balance of the nebula. It started to collapse inward, like a whirlpool forming in a stormy sea, pulled by the relentless force of gravity. As the dust spiraled inward, it gathered more material, growing denser and hotter at its core. Gravity, the great architect of the universe, was at work, shaping and moulding this chaotic mass into something new. Slowly but surely, the immense pressure at the centre ignited nuclear fusion, the process that would give birth to our sun. The moment the sun came to life, the young solar system was born. This newborn star, a blazing ball of hydrogen and helium, unleashed a torrent of solar wind, clearing out much of the remaining gas and dust around it. But not everything was swept away. The leftover debris swirled in a vast, rotating disk around the sun, a chaotic dance of tiny specks and larger fragments colliding and sticking together. Some of these clumps would become asteroids, some would merge to form moons, and a few lucky ones would grow into planets. At first, these planetary embryos were nothing more than cosmic rubble, chunks of rock and metal, pulled together by gravity into irregular, jagged shapes. They crashed into each other violently, sometimes shattering apart, sometimes fusing into something larger. In this high-speed game of celestial bumper cars, only the most resilient bodies survived. Among these growing clumps was a small, rocky mass that would eventually become Earth. But in these early days, it was far from the lush, life-filled world we know today. It was just another struggling fragment, one of many rocky bodies vying for survival in the volatile, early solar system. For millions of years, this young Earth-to-be continued to collide with other fragments, slowly accumulating mass. Each impact added to its size, generating immense heat, keeping its surface in a molten state. It was a violent, chaotic time. No oceans, no land, just a red-hot, spinning sphere of liquid rock, battling for its place in the cosmos. But Earth wasn't the only planet forming. Elsewhere in this newborn system, other worlds were taking shape. Some, like Mercury and Venus, formed closer to the sun, their surfaces scorched by its unrelenting heat. Others, like Mars, managed to hold onto a thin atmosphere but struggled to maintain the conditions needed for life. And farther out, in the frigid reaches of the solar system, gas giants like Jupiter and Saturn were assembling themselves, not from rock, but from the swirling gases left behind by the sun's birth. Yet, even as these planets found their places, Earth's fate remained uncertain. The solar system was still young, still chaotic. The very forces that had built Earth could just as easily destroy it. In fact, one such collision would soon reshape its destiny forever. Because one day, a planetary body the size of Mars, what scientists call Theia, came hurtling toward young Earth. The impact was catastrophic. In an instant, molten rock was flung into space. A vast portion of Earth's outer layers was ripped apart. The sheer energy of the collision vaporized rock and metal, creating a glowing cloud of debris that wrapped around the ruined planet. For a while, Earth was unrecognizable, scarred, broken, still molten from the trauma. But as the dust settled, Gravity worked its magic once more. The scattered debris still caught in Earth's pull began to coalesce into a new celestial body. The moon. With this, Earth's fate took a crucial turn. The formation of the moon stabilized its rotation, preventing it from wobbling unpredictably. This would later help regulate the planet's climate, making it more suitable for life. But at this point, life was still an unimaginable dream. Earth was still just a fiery, barren rock drifting in space. And yet, despite the chaos, despite the destruction, it had survived. The foundations of a new world had been laid, and the next stage of its incredible journey was about to begin. Among these growing clumps was a small, rocky mass that would eventually become Earth. But in these early days, it was far from the lush, life-filled world we know today. It was just another struggling fragment, one of many rocky bodies vying for survival in the volatile, early solar system. For millions of years, this young Earth-to-be continued to collide with other fragments, slowly accumulating mass. Each impact added to its size, generating immense heat, keeping its surface in a molten state. It was a violent, chaotic time. No oceans, no land, just a red-hot, spinning sphere of liquid rock, battling for its place in the cosmos. But Earth wasn't the only planet forming. Elsewhere in this newborn system, other worlds were taking shape. Some, like Mercury and Venus, formed closer to the sun, their surfaces scorched by its unrelenting heat. Others, like Mars, managed to hold onto a thin atmosphere but struggled to maintain the conditions needed for life. And farther out, in the frigid reaches of the solar system, gas giants like Jupiter and Saturn were assembling themselves, not from rock, but from the swirling gases left behind by the sun's birth. Yet, even as these planets found their places, Earth's fate remained uncertain. The solar system was still young, still chaotic. The very forces that had built Earth could just as easily destroy it. In fact, one such collision would soon reshape its destiny forever. Because one day, a planetary body the size of Mars, what scientists call Theia, came hurtling toward young Earth. The impact was catastrophic. In an instant, molten rock was flung into space. A vast portion of Earth's outer layers was ripped apart. The sheer energy of the collision vaporized rock and metal, creating a glowing cloud of debris that wrapped around the ruined planet. For a while, Earth was unrecognizable, scarred, broken, still molten from the trauma. But as the dust settled, gravity worked its magic once more. The scattered debris still caught in Earth's pull began to coalesce into a new celestial body. The moon. With this, Earth's fate took a crucial turn. The formation of the moon stabilized its rotation, preventing it from wobbling unpredictably. This would later help regulate the planet's climate, making it more suitable for life. But at this point, life was still an unimaginable dream. Earth was still just a fiery, barren rock drifting in space. And yet, despite the chaos, despite the destruction, it had survived. The foundations of a new world had been laid, and the next stage of its incredible journey was about to begin. Now let yourself drift with the waves. Feel the slow rise and fall, the gentle rhythm of the water. The storms have quieted, the fires have dimmed, and the world is resting. Breathe in the cool air of this new earth. Let the sound of the distant waves fill your mind. There is no rush, no hurry, only patience, only time. Earth's story is still unfolding, and yours is too. But for now, in this quiet moment, everything is just as it should be. Chapter 4. The Great Oxygen Revolution. A story for falling asleep. Imagine standing at the edge of this ancient ocean, looking out over endless waters that stretch beyond the horizon. The waves move slowly, their surface reflecting the faint light of a hazy sky. There are no birds flying overhead, no fish swimming beneath the waves, no sound of wind rustling through trees, because there are no trees, no plants, no animals. This is a world still in its early days, still finding its way. But deep beneath the water, too small to see, something tiny, something almost invisible, has begun a quiet revolution. Far below the waves, nestled among the rocks and floating in the currents, live the first tiny life forms, cyanobacteria. They are not grand or mighty, not towering creatures or fearsome beasts. No, these are simple single-celled organisms, drifting gently, carried by the tides. But they hold within them a secret power. As the sun rises over the endless waters, its warm light filters down, touching the cyanobacteria. And here, in this quiet underwater world, something magical happens. These tiny beings take in the sunlight, using its energy to transform carbon dioxide and water into something new. They create food for themselves, and in the process, they release something that has never existed in large amounts before. Oxygen. A tiny bubble forms and rises toward the surface. Then another, and another. It is slow, gentle, almost unnoticeable. But with each passing day, each rising sun, more and more of these tiny bubbles are set free into the vast ocean. At first, this oxygen doesn't make it into the air. Instead, it meets something waiting in the water. Iron. For millions of years, iron has been drifting through the ocean, dissolved and unseen. But as oxygen meets iron, a reaction begins. The iron rusts, settling onto the ocean floor in deep layers, painting the waters in hues of red and orange. For a long, long time, this is how it goes. Oxygen is made, but it is immediately used up, locked away in the sea floor. The sky remains unchanged, the land remains empty. But the cyanobacteria do not stop. Day after day, century after century, they continue their quiet work. And then, something amazing happens. The iron in the ocean is finally used up, and now the oxygen has nowhere else to go. It begins to rise to escape into the air above. At first it is just a whisper, a soft touch against the ancient sky. But over time the air begins to shift. The thick, suffocating gases that once filled the atmosphere begin to thin, replaced by something new, something fresh. The sky begins to open, and slowly, ever so slowly, Earth is becoming a world where life can breathe. Imagine standing there, feeling that first breeze of oxygen, the first breath of a changing planet. It is soft, gentle, barely noticeable. But it is there. The revolution is happening. The cyanobacteria keep working, their numbers growing, their impact deepening. Oxygen continues to build, filling the sky, touching every corner of the planet. The air changes, the ocean changes, the very fabric of the world shifts. Not all creatures survive this transformation. Many early life forms, adapted to a world without oxygen, fade away. But for others, this is the beginning of something new. This is the first step toward more complex life, toward movement, toward plants and animals, toward a future where Earth will be filled with creatures of all shapes and sizes. The air is clearer now, the oceans are different, and the land, though still empty, is waiting for its time to come. Now let yourself drift with the slow, steady rhythm of this transformation. Imagine floating in these ancient waters, feeling the quiet pulse of change beneath the surface. The tiny cyanobacteria, working tirelessly, create something that will shape the world forever. Breathe in deeply. The air around you is fresher now, lighter. The sky above is clearer, stretching wide over a planet that is waking up. There is no rush, no hurry, just time moving forward, bringing Earth ever closer to the world we know today. And as you rest, as you drift towards sleep, know that this story is still unfolding. The Earth is always changing, always growing, always moving towards something new. For now, though, everything is quiet. Everything is at peace. Close your eyes. Feel the soft rhythm of the waves and the gentle breath of the changing air. Let it carry you into dreams. Chapter 5. Snowball Earth and the Survival of Life. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine yourself floating through time, drifting softly over a planet that looks nothing like the Earth you know. The world beneath you is frozen, wrapped in ice from pole to pole. The oceans are locked beneath thick glaciers, and the land is buried under endless snow. Even the air is cold and crisp, whispering with the breath of an ancient winter that lasted millions of years. But don't worry, this is not the end of the world. It is just another chapter in Earth's long and beautiful journey. If you could step onto this frozen Earth, you would find yourself in a place so still, so silent, that it almost feels like time itself has stopped. No rivers flow, no waves crash against the shore, and no wind rustles through the trees, because there are no trees, no plants, no life visible anywhere. Just endless white stretching in every direction, under a sky painted in soft blues and greys. But even in this deep freeze, Earth is not lifeless. Somewhere, hidden beneath the ice, life is holding on. Deep below the frozen oceans, where sunlight cannot reach, tiny creatures find shelter in warm pockets of water. How is this possible? The answer lies beneath the surface, where the planet's heart still beats with quiet strength. Volcanoes, unseen but powerful, continue to bubble and roar beneath the thick ice. Their warmth creates small hidden lakes, places where life can survive against all odds. In these dark, secret worlds, microscopic organisms drift and float, waiting for a time when the ice will finally melt. For millions of years, Earth remains trapped in this icy prison. But far above, something is happening. The volcanoes, though hidden beneath the ice, are slowly changing the air. With every eruption, they release invisible gases, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that rise into the sky. At first, the difference is barely noticeable. The ice still stretches endlessly, and the cold still grips the planet. But slowly, ever so slowly, the air begins to hold more warmth. The ice starts to listen. One day, though no one is there to see it, a crack forms in the ice. It is small, barely a whisper of change, but it is a sign. The air is warming, and the glaciers are beginning to respond. Then, another crack, and another. Over time, the frozen oceans start to break apart. The ice sheets thin and deep beneath the surface. The first drops of liquid water form. They gather, merge, and flow, until finally the great thaw begins. Imagine standing on this slowly warming earth, watching as the glaciers start to retreat. Rivers, long forgotten, awaken and begin to carve their way through the land. Oceans, once trapped beneath ice, stretch and expand. their waves returning to dance under the sun. And with the return of water comes the return of life. Those tiny hidden organisms that survived the great freeze now have the chance to grow, to spread, to evolve. The world, once silent and frozen, begins to stir. Breathe in deeply and picture this transformation. The air, once thin and frigid, grows warmer, carrying soft breezes across the land. The oceans ripple and move, their surface glittering under the light of a sun that has waited patiently for millions of years to see its reflection again. Earth, once a snowball, is now waking up. It will take time, thousands, even millions of years, but the planet is finding its way back. And soon, life will no longer just survive, it will thrive. Now, as you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself floating on one of those newly unfrozen oceans. Feel the soft rise and fall of the water beneath you, the gentle warmth of a sun returning to its home. The world changes, but it always finds balance. It always finds a way forward. And so do you. Chapter 6, The Rise of Life, a story for falling asleep. Picture yourself floating above a vast, ancient ocean. The water is clear and blue, stretching as far as the eye can see. But beneath the surface, something incredible is unfolding. Millions of tiny creatures, unlike anything you've ever seen, move gracefully through the water. Some are soft and jelly-like, drifting lazily with the currents. Others have strange armor-like shells, scuttling along the sea floor. This is the Cambrian explosion, a time when life is bursting into new and wondrous forms. There are trilobites, little creatures that look like tiny underwater tanks, scurrying across the ocean floor. Strange worm-like beings wiggle and twist, exploring their watery home. Some creatures have spines, others have fins, and a few even have the first hints of eyes. Small, simple, but ready to see a world that is waking up. The ocean, once silent and empty, is now full of movement. Life has found its rhythm. For millions of years, life stays in the safety of the sea. But then something incredible happens. A brave little plant no bigger than your fingertip begins to grow along the water's edge. It is simple, just a tiny green sprout, but it is the first of its kind. Slowly other plants follow, creeping onto the land, their roots digging into the soil, their leaves reaching for the sun. And then come the insects, tiny, crawling creatures with delicate legs and shimmering wings. They explore this new world, darting between plants, making homes in the soft earth. But the biggest step is yet to come. One day, a fish-like creature with strong, sturdy fins pulls itself up onto the shore. It blinks, adjusting to the bright sunlight. It is not a fish anymore. It is something new, an amphibian, a creature that can live both in water and on land. It is slow at first, moving awkwardly on its new legs. But over generations, these creatures get better, stronger. Some stay near the water, but others venture farther onto land, their bodies adapting to this dry and open world. And soon, they are not alone. The amphibians give way to something new. Reptiles. They grow bigger, faster, stronger. Some develop scales to protect themselves from the sun. Others grow sharp teeth and claws to hunt. Then, one day, a creature hatches from an egg and stands up tall. It is unlike anything the world has seen before. It has a long tail, powerful legs, and a head filled with sharp teeth. It is a dinosaur. Now imagine walking through a prehistoric jungle. The trees are enormous, their leaves stretching high into the sky. Strange, colourful birds with feathered wings dart between the branches, their calls echoing through the dense forest. And then you hear it, a low, rumbling sound in the distance. The ground trembles beneath your feet. A massive dinosaur emerges from the trees, its enormous feet pressing into the soft earth. It is gentle, a plant eater, slowly chewing on leaves. But nearby, a different kind of dinosaur lurks in the shadows. Smaller, faster, with sharp teeth ready to strike. For millions of years, dinosaurs rule the earth. They are everywhere, roaming the forests, swimming in the oceans, soaring through the skies. They come in all shapes and sizes, from towering giants to tiny creatures no bigger than a chicken. It seems like they will rule forever. But then, everything changes. One day, a bright light appears in the sky. At first, it is small, just a distant speck. But it grows bigger and bigger until it fills the heavens with fire. Then, impact. An asteroid, larger than a mountain, crashes into the earth. The explosion is unlike anything before. Fire spreads across the land, filling the air with smoke and ash. The sky darkens, blocking out the sun. The world grows cold, and life struggles to survive. The mighty dinosaurs who once ruled the planet begin to disappear. The forests grow quiet. The earth changes once again. But even in this moment of darkness, life finds a way forward. In the shadows of the dinosaurs, small furry creatures have been waiting. They are tiny, no bigger than your hand, hiding in burrows, scurrying in the trees. They are mammals, soft, warm-blooded, and full of potential. And now, with the dinosaurs gone, it is their time to rise. They grow larger, smarter. Some stay in the trees, swinging from branch to branch. Others roam the land, learning to run, to hunt, to work together. And among them, millions of years later, a special kind of mammal will emerge. One that walks on two legs, thinks, dreams, and builds a world unlike any before. But that part of the story is still to come. Now, as you close your eyes, let yourself drift through time. Imagine the gentle rise and fall of the ocean, the rustling of leaves in an ancient jungle, the quiet steps of creatures exploring a brand new world. Life is always changing, always moving forward, just like the gentle waves that carry you toward sleep. Chapter 7. The Dawn of Humanity, a story for falling asleep. This is the world before us, a world waiting for something new, something different, a world waiting for humans. For millions of years, Earth belonged to the creatures of the land, sea and sky. Dinosaurs had come and gone, leaving behind only bones and memories. Mammals had grown and spread, adapting to forests, plains and mountains. But something was missing. Then, about 2 million years ago, a new kind of creature appeared. They were small, walking on 2 legs, their bodies covered in hair. They weren't the biggest, the fastest or the strongest, but they had something else, a spark of intelligence. Imagine watching them, deep in an African valley. They move carefully, their eyes scanning the landscape. They don't just survive, they think. They use rocks to crack open nuts, sticks to dig for food. They are different from all the animals that came before them. They are the first humans. For thousands of years they wander the land, learning its secrets. They gather berries and hunt small animals, moving in groups for safety. Then, one fateful night, something incredible happens. A bolt of lightning strikes a tree, setting it ablaze. The humans watch in awe as the flames dance, casting long shadows against the cave walls. At first, they are afraid. but slowly they move closer. One of them reaches out with a stick, touching it to the fire. It catches, glowing orange at the tip. They have tamed fire. From that moment, everything changes. Fire keeps them warm in the cold. It protects them from predators. It cooks the food, making it easier to eat. And most importantly, it brings them together. They sit around the flames at night, telling stories, sharing dreams. Fire is more than just survival. It is the beginning of civilization. With fire at their side, humans grow stronger. They travel beyond their homeland, exploring forests, deserts, and icy tundras. Imagine walking with them. The air is crisp, the sun rising over an endless plain. You hear the quiet chatter of the group, the soft crunch of footsteps on the earth. They move with purpose, following the stars, following the rivers. Some settle near lakes, where fish are plenty. Others move to mountains, where they craft tools from stone. They learn to build shelters, to weave baskets, to shape the world around them. Slowly, these wandering humans turn into farmers, planting seeds, raising animals. Villages appear, then towns, then cities. The world is changing, and so is humanity. Imagine standing on a hill, looking down at one of the first great cities. The sun sets behind it, casting a golden glow over the buildings. People move through the streets, selling food, making pottery, telling stories. The air is filled with the sounds of life, laughter, music, the steady rhythm of footsteps on stone. Humans have built something new, civilization. With each passing year, they grow wiser. They write stories, carve statues, create laws. They study the stars, asking questions about the universe. They build temples, pyramids, and walls that stretch for miles. They cross oceans in wooden ships, searching for new lands, new ideas. They are no longer just survivors. They are creators, thinkers, dreamers, and they are only just beginning. Now imagine yourself on a ship, sailing across an endless ocean. The wind fills the sails, the waves gently rock the boat. The sky is clear, the stars twinkling above. For centuries, humans have been explorers, travelling to places unknown. They cross mountains, deserts, and seas, leaving footprints in lands untouched by their ancestors. Some seek new homes, some seek adventure, and some seek knowledge. They build great empires, create machines, write books that will last forever. They invent languages, music, art. They turn the world into something new, something extraordinary. But even as they reach new heights, they never stop wondering, never stop looking up at the stars, asking, what's next? One day, humans do something unthinkable. They build a machine, one that can fly. At first it is small, lifting only a few feet into the air. But soon they build bigger ones, faster ones. They cross entire continents in hours, seeing the world from above. And then they look beyond Earth. Imagine standing in a vast control room surrounded by blinking lights and humming machines. A voice counts down. 3, 2, 1. With a roar, fire erupts beneath a rocket, lifting it into the sky, higher and higher, past the clouds, past the atmosphere, into the great unknown. Sleep now, knowing that you are part of this great story. A story that began with fire, with footsteps in the sand, with whispers around a campfire. A story that is still being written. Good night.